Well, hello there and welcome to a new video on my channel. Today we are looking at some how-to stuff. Today we're actually looking at how to make a Ravage scenario the way I do. I have a special way to do this, adding items or creatures that will hunt you down throughout the entirety of a game. You need these modules for that. For that, I'll be showing you how to do that today. Will be pretty easy, but I'll get to that. First thing you want to do is you want to go onto a new map. In my case, I'm going to Torresk. I've heard that Torresk has some frame rate issues if you mess around with the options. We're not going to do that today. All we're going to do today is I'll show you how to set up Dorongos, Ravage, and eventually Vendins's Apocalypse and the what's it called? Remnant mod. Yes. I might also show you how to set up the Stalker modules. Most of you probably already know this because I think the Stalker mod has been around for longer than any of the other mods. But anyways, Torresk is one of the better maps to play alone. It's rather small compared to most other maps. It's a post-apocalyptic terrain that is built for Ravage. And it's pretty interesting in the terms that it doesn't really have a lot to walk through, like, for example, Chernar's Redux does. But we'll get to that in a second. Right. So the way this works is pretty simple. You obviously want a map that is supposed to keep up with the way Ravage works, meaning the best maps I would recommend to you is Chernar's Redux. This map alters any of the vanilla maps in general, apart from Molden. Molden has a weird glitch that it will super spawn zombies, and even if there's no building, it will spawn zombies until the end of time. Right. So anything that has Armor 2 or Armor 3 buildings, including Armor 1 buildings, is compatible with Ravage. None of the other maps are. JBAD isn't, which is kind of a bummer, but I'll get to that in a second. So, the first things you want is Ravage, the most important things. I'm playing with a huge mod pack, so excuse any of my frame rate issues. Dorongos, we'll get to that later. Ravage. You need Ravage, you need Remnant, and you need Dorongos. So what you do is you skip the ambient AI, you take the zombies module, turn that to walkers, and put the ratio on 1. Meaning there's a 1 in 100 chance that there will be a fast zombie. I'll turn down the population limit to usually about 15. Actually 15 max, and 8. That's what I usually have set up. Horde behavior, no. Dead Rising only when killed by zombies. Right, next up we have Atmosphere. Atmosphere is here to create a post-apocalyptic scenario. Color filter will turn your entire screen yellow. Ambient music will play post-apocalyptic music. You can set a custom playlist if you want to, I don't usually. Breath, the dynamic weather will change the weather on its own accord. Breath Talk will show you your own breath if you enable it. Dynamic Sand Gusts is basically it will always create like these small sand gusts that will fly over the landscape. Next up we have Gear Pool. Gear Pool means this is what can be spawned and what can't be spawned. If you want any custom items, include them in here. I usually don't enable infected equipment, I don't know how that works. Preset is usually Chernoros for especially for Russian maps. So, global mobilization, yes, since I own that DLC. If you don't, turn that off. RHS complete means if you have RHS mods, it will use that, yes. I'm using COP as well, so that's a given. Even though I don't have this mod, you can turn this to yes, so if you save this as a composition and you have that mod later, use it. Iron Front is the same. Iron Front. First Ruin is also one of those mods. Cool. Next is the loot system. Here you can change what buildings can spawn loot and which can't. It's all in German because I have my game in German, obviously. You have Armor 3 Apex structures, Armor 3 Molten 2035 structures, Armor 3 Livonia structures, which are the newest addition to it, Armor 2 structures, Armor 2 Operation Arrowhead structures, Armor 1 structures, Namolsk structures, Ambient Furniture structures. Well, that's important. If you don't turn this on, you won't really get any loot. Then I usually add a 1 to this loot counter in random places, because the loot usually is extremely low. And if I wanted to have extremely low loot, I would just play DayZ. Next up is the radioactive zone placement. This one is basically, if you want a radioactive zone, let's say Aura, you can change the radius here, meaning everything in this radius will be radioactive. This is a rather small map, as you see, but you know. Next up is the save system. The save system works like this: persistency, yes, meaning if you log off later same scenario, your stuff will be saved, at least on your multiplayer settings. Well, at least in the stuff that you have on your player person. Settings. Here you can change time acceleration, cleanup system, enable host survival function, which I usually don't use since I use a special version of Ace, but if you want that, turn it on. Next up is the survival system. I don't know if that's even necessary anymore, but you can use that. And yeah, I usually use it because of the radioactive zones. That's why I turn it on. You can make like stuff like the rain, that rain can contaminate you, for example. Radioactive waters, you shouldn't go swimming with that. Here you can change in single player which beds you can sleep in and skip time. Yeah. Right. That would be it for Ravage. There's still the vehicles thing. If you want custom vehicles, put them in here. You can change how many vehicles can be spawned. That's it. Next up, you want to use the Ninja's Apocalypse mod. Therefore, I have something set up. If you want patrols running around with special units from mods, for example, if you want a United States Marine Corps or United States Army patrol just roaming around the landscape and hunting people or hunting zombies, that can be easily done with this mod. What you have to do is you have to choose your units you want. For example, I'm using Cold War Armed, the G36 Rifleman, the AUG Steyr Rifleman, the XMS Rifleman, and the regular Rifleman. Those are the ones you want usually. I usually put on something like the Officer or the Machine Gunner, just to spice it up. I'll put the Officer here. Now you want to decide what kind of unit do you want these as. If you're making like a stalker-like stuff, and you want these units to try and follow you and hunt you down, that can be easily done. It's no matter which faction you're playing as, you can change the faction of those guys. Let's just start with this. You take this one, record this, and save the class abbreviation. Then you go to Ninja's Apocalypse AI. Scroll down until you get to AI patrols. Here you can set up regular AI patrols that will just randomly patrol the landscape. And you can set AI stalkers. Those are stalker groups. I will be putting in this, then a comma, then deleting this guy. Taking the next one. Copy that as well. It's imperative that you put it like that. If you just Control Z, C Control V, it will not work because it will save everything that is on that person, which is not good. Right. You will usually want. If you leave that open, it will spawn randomly generated loot for the guys. There will still be stalker groups, but they will have randomized loot, which will be interesting. Next up and last is the officer. I'm using Cold War Rearmed just because usually I'm playing with the Global Mobilization DLC, and Cold War Rearmed just fits in with that better than it does with RHS. Right, so now you have custom patrols that will randomly run the landscape. It's to this point on this version of VA not possible to use vehicles in those. It will probably be in the next update, which is still very far on the horizon. If you want to know more about that, join the Van Diensens Apocalypse Discord. I don't know if I'm allowed to actually give you that link to that. You probably should go to Van Diensens Apocalypse YouTube channel and just take a look at that. Right. So the next things you want to set up is something really annoying that always happens to me, which makes the missions most of the times unplayable, is Van Diensens Apocalypse bleeding. Turn that off and put all this down. Make sure to keep this disabled. This will make it impossible for first aid kits to spawn. Right, back to AI. You want to have this at like a 2 or something. This will allow the AI to spawn with first aid kits. You can modify what stuff they are allowed to have. The max of patrols, I usually put this to like 9. Well, not usually more like 5. And stalker groups usually about 4. Just to make it more fun. If you have the DBO horses mod, you can enable that. If you want feral dogs, you can enable that. Next up is the base building. I usually keep this disabled because it's not done. Bleeding we just disabled, and general. In general, you can disable the entire VA mod. You can enable the debug masters, enable debug hints, all of that great thing. If you're playing on a server, you can enable this and make everything spawns by VA into Zeus. Next up is the HUD. You usually get like health, hunger, and thirst down here. You can disable that. Infection I usually turn down to like 19 and make the drop chance a little higher because I'm a fucking wuss. Here you can modify the loot economy. I haven't really bothered with that other with the last time I made a mission. I usually copy paste that. Then you have sites. This is also important. I would usually put up the sites like this. This will be survivor camps. Boat spawns also usually are ramped up a bit. The crash sites usually ramped up a bit. Helicopter spawns. I usually modify this with my SCP mod I have. Little self-plug here. If you have SCP expunged, the SCP mod, it's a really small mod at the moment because we ran into some issues in development and we can't really do anything. It's just basic retextures at the moment. And you want, for example, a SCP Hellcat to spawn, or a SCP Little Bird. You can do that by just... It works with every helicopter, but it's simply the same. Copy that. Go into the add-on options. You edit that. I usually turn off the other ones because I usually tend to just want to have SCP helicopters. The same thing goes for the planes. You can enable random plane spawn. If your map has one airfield, I would recommend only having one airfield. Right, I would save this for now. And the next thing you want to do, you go into the add-on options and enable stalkers thing. This thing usually is disabled by default. And here you can set in like the other things that can detect enemies or like stalker creatures. So what I usually do is I go on here, take the Varco stalkers, Devaco Stalkers. Stalk anomalies, there we go. Anomaly field, and I ramped this up like 12, 12, 12, 12. If you do this, I would recommend to you use a special kit for your survivor, just because, yeah. Next thing is phantoms. If you want phantoms, basically Death Stranding creatures, go for it. I tend to dislike them because they're really glitchy and they tend to fuck things up if you shoot at them. They tend to show an error message but still work. It's all to your own taste. I recommend using them if you're playing with more players, but alone they can simply 1 or 2 hit you. I don't know how to change that. Right, you need these 2 modules. And if you're playing with the same mod pack I am, I would recommend you take one of those modules. Scroll down here. Oh, it's one of the wrong modules. Scroll down here. Copy paste this line. And then delete the module again. Phantom settings. You have to look that this is enabled here, meaning you can shoot these things to death with silver bullets. I would turn on this, meaning you will only thing you will see when you walk is a little bit of a disruption in the air, like there's some source of heat. But if you stand still for long enough, they will appear as like a black figure. They'll look like this, right? Phantoms. Usually float like in the air like this and have like weird animations, but that's what they look like. Next up is you want to turn those down. Those are spawning in massive rates. I'll usually put that into like the 2 category, and a 5 category maybe. That's what everything you need. I would look for static objects, meaning they will spawn in buildings and try to be around buildings. Right, the next thing is Dorongos. I have a small issue with this mod. It is extremely fun. It has ramped up the experience of Ravage for me a whole lot, but it has one major issue. I don't know if it's a glitch or if I'm just doing something wrong, but the anomalies tend to not be able to kill things. It is not that big of an issue, as they usually lock you in a stun mode and then you just die anyways, but they can't actually kill you. There's probably a way to fix this by placing on every single one of those modules, so I'll be just doing that, and I can't guarantee it will work. I know it will work in the way it used to, but I can't guarantee it will work like it is. Like it's supposed to, so. You need the core module. Attack down target, yeah. Debug, true, it doesn't matter. Speak set renegade, that should be like that. Allow waterfalls, show depth FX, yeah. Add rating, I don't know what that means. I should probably put it on. That's probably the issue. So if you're not using an Ace Medical mod, turn that off. It is probably what caused this issue. Anyways, what you need is spawner ambient. You don't really need anything else. Spawner ambient. This will automatically spawn the spooks around the map, like zombies, but much rarer. They will ambush you. You will hear their sounds, so be aware. And you can kill them usually with any weapon you have. If you didn't set up like, yeah, we need you need specific ammo for this. So, at last part of this equipment series, or of this tutorial series, I would want you to join me and actually, how big is that anomaly field? I don't think it's actually big. If you want these stock anomalies to spawn, ramp it up by placing this to like 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers. Yeah, this is big enough, I would say. The map is extremely small. If you have a bigger map, obviously put this higher. Yeah, put this higher. So, if you want to play with a survivor, I will be showing you how to do that. Let's say you want to go blue for, as that is usually the best way to go. You take a survivor class, or pretty much any class, you just change the outfit of them. Take a survivor class, make sure they're playable, go into the inventory. I'm using an ace version again. And, yeah. So, for example, if you want to go combat things, take a handfire weapon. And I would recommend either taking one of those, or those are basically vanilla pistols that can go stupid and just have an infinite fire rate, if you know what I mean. Go take those. Make sure it's loaded with silver ammunition. This is very important. The pistol is one of the most important things in Ravage, at least in my version. Let's say you want the survivor to have this outfit. That's fine. I would recommend for you having most DLCs, or at least using stuff from DLCs if you want to, or if you're using any mods, sure, go ahead. I'm not the person to judge. Let me say, like, I wanted to have this, like, small equipment. I usually put in 2 first aid kits just for default, putting in more silver ammunition. Then I put in a backpack, usually a small backpack, or like this IDAP bag. And I give the person usually a very light gun. If you're using SPR, go ahead and give them the MP40, I think. But I'll just go with the Romat. It looks like an FAL, but yeah. I usually just go with 6 ammunition, but this is just for showcase. Headgear I would advise against. You can do it if you want to, but I usually tend to find better headgear and the later thing. This is important. Take the anomaly detector with you, as well as taking screws. Screws sound like a really stupid thing to take with you, but they can be very helpful. Around 6 maybe. These serve as grenades. If you throw them at a anomaly, or where you suspect is an anomaly, it will trigger that anomaly, so it will be pretty helpful. If you want any stuff from Van Dienson's Apocalypse, click on this, or even Ravage for that matter. Click on the magazines folder. Then scroll down. You can either search up here, or you can just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. Right, so for example, you want the can opener. It's one of the most important things because it's extremely rare. Next thing is you want the Geiger counter. Geiger Miller counter. And if you want something to drink and eat, tactical. I didn't mean to make a screenshot, I'm sorry. Tactical bacon and soda. Just for the basic showcase. Yes. That would be basically it already. I recommend you using enhanced movements and remove stamina, and possibly the ace anti-stasi without the medical system. And this would basically be it for this tutorial. It was a very short tutorial, not very in depth, but I may or may not go in depth on specific things. If you want me to, I'm not against it. I just had to struggle making this video because of several reasons. I actually recorded this video a day ago, but it did not upload, or it just corrupted. So I had a struggle making this video. That being said, though, I hope you had fun, and see you in the next video. Bye.